Mrs. Fitch is ill, and we certainly want her to get recovered pretty quick. If you were here Monday in the board agenda, she was really having a tough time. So Mrs. Fitch is out ill today. Please remember that items do not have to be taken in order shown on the agenda, and please join us in turning off your cell phones to silent mode. The board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss the items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of the Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by the Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.129. No voting will take place in closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It is now 6:02. 6:05?
502.
5:02.
They gotta reset your
Yeah,
clock.
I have to reset my clock. It is not 5:02. Thank you.
Alrighty.
The board is now reconvening in open session at 6 p.m. Our board president, Mrs. Pam Fitch, is ill, and we wish her a speedy recovery. She was really sick on Monday, so we certainly wish her a speedy recovery. This month, our featured school is Mike Moses Middle School. We thank you for decorating the bulletin boards. If you have an opportunity, you may want to see the bulletin board in the foyer there that the students have done, and inspiring pictures, and especially the quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. Now we'll call on Principal Mr. Stephen Autry and his students to give the invocation and lead us in the pledges to the flag. Mr. Autry.
Good evening, Vice President Neal, board members, Interim Superintendent Fraley. We're excited to be here. Our students are not nervous at all, so you can tell. I always want to take an opportunity. I always talk about this. I want to give the opportunity. I always want to praise publicly our teachers, our staff, all staff members, and our students at Mike Moses. They do an absolute tremendous job. It's an incredible school, and I'm very proud of them. At this time, I want to introduce our FCA sponsor, Coach Phillips, and I'm going to hand it over to him so he can introduce these youngsters, and then they can take it from there.
Good evening. Good evening. We have Ms. Susie Davis, Mr. Sam McNeely, Mr. Garrett Schmidt, and Christian Ochoa. And they will open us up with a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you don't mind, I will now begin in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us see another day. God, we pray for your blessing upon the students of our district. Give us the mind to learn, the eyes to see, and the ears to hear. Help us to make it through the rest of the school year.
Thank you, Lord, for the adults of Nacogdoches ISD, for their contribution and sacrifices for the education of the Nacogdoches youth. If it weren't for those contributions and sacrifices, the students of NISD would not have the access to the great facilities and education we have.
Lord, please help the community. Please bless the people, friends, and families of the communities, and especially those struggling. Please keep everyone healthy and strong. Please bless the elderly for when they lose strength, that they will lean on you. Take care of the people that they have lost loved ones, for they are going through tough times. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now, if you will join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, guys.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated.
We certainly want to thank our students and parents that are with them. Parents, would you all please stand that brought these wonderful students to be with us this evening? You have been parents of these students. Thank you all for your sacrifice you made, and you're here. And thank you, students, Ms. Audrey. Thank you. That brings us to our celebrations information items. First off is Les Lundbarger with the recognition portion of the meeting. Mr. Lundbarger, we turn it over to you.
Good evening, Vice President Neal, board members, Interim Superintendent Fraley. Boy, this is some fun stuff right here. I want to have Coach Scroggins come on up here with her 5 Class 5A state qualifiers. Last weekend, they were at the state swimming and diving meet in Austin. I'm going to turn this over to Coach Scroggins, and she's going to talk about these outstanding swimmers.
Thank you, everyone, for having us tonight and for recognizing these kids. These are 5 of the best kids at NHS. The other 45 are also on the swim team, and they're not with us tonight. But I'm thankful to get to work with these guys. They are dedicated, hardworking kids, and their families are also dedicated. We practice real early in the morning, and so it's definitely a group effort. But this year we were excited to have 3 events, 5 individuals qualify for the state to meet. And in Texas, that's the highest level of competition for swimming. And so I wanted to introduce you to them tonight. The first person is Jackson Castleberry. He is a junior, and he's a captain. You can wave or something if you want. Jackson finished 7th in the 100 free this year in the state. He also set a new school record, so he's the fastest 100 freestyler to ever come through NHS. He was also part of the two relays that qualified, the 200 medley relay and the 400 free relay, which also placed 13th and 18th at state. The next person I want to introduce you to is Philip Frankie. He's another one of our captains. He's also a junior. He was the breaststroke leg of our 200 medley relay, which finished 13th at state. The next person is Zach Vickus. Zach is a sophomore, and he was the freestyle leg of one of the freestyle legs of our 400 free relay, which finished 18th in the state. Cooper Henson is a junior. He was on both relays. The 200 medley relay, he was the anchor, swimming freestyle, and on the 400 free relay, he started us off. And then Tread Woodard is just a freshman and was also on 2 of our relays. He was the butterfly leg in the medley and 400 free relay member as well. So these guys are great, and the good news is none of them are seniors. And so we're going to do it again next year even better.
We have some certificates we're going to present to the swimmers that Vice President Neal is going to hand to them. But this is, Board, this is at least the first of at least 2 months where we're going to have state qualifiers here at our board meeting. We've got some more coming up next month who will be making a trip down to Austin here in a few weeks. So this is exciting times. Thank you all very well.
But before they leave, we just want to say, again, thank you for the great work of these students and the sacrifices the parents made, because I realize practice is at what time in the morning?
5:45.
5:45. And again, let's, Coach Scroggins, give her a hand. Consistently, this program has been outstanding. And thank you for your work, Coach Scroggins. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have our interim superintendent, Mr. Fraley, to share his report.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Trustees, Melissa Romine is one of 2 students in Texas to receive this year's Taylor Marceau Scholarship, one of 2 in Texas. This scholarship is presented by the Texas Association of Alternative Education to a student graduating from alternative program. Melissa is the 2019 graduate of Malcolm Rector Technical High School. She received a $1,000 scholarship earlier this month in San Antonio. She's already enrolled in classes at Angelina College and plans to obtain a bachelor's and master's degree in marine biology. Congratulations to Alyssa with great honor, great honor. National School Counseling Week was February 4th through 8th, and we have some outstanding folks who serve our students as counselors. We have 20 counselors spread throughout 10 campuses, and they provide a vital support to our students, and we really thank them for all that they do. Speaking of basketball, Dr. Roman, boys basketball team will play Lancaster, and it's Lancaster. I worked next door to them for a while, in the area playoff at 7:30 tomorrow at the University of Texas in Tyler. They won by district title this past Tuesday with victory over Mount Pleasant. Lancaster is the top-ranked team in Class 5A. We've won 34 games thus far, and 35 is possible. All right? So in February, we'll have Black History programs playing within the district. At 7 p.m. tomorrow night, the Students of Color organization at Natchez High School will host an evening at the movies. The show will be held in the auditorium and consist of music and scenes from movies that have played important roles in Black history. Audience participation will also be part of the show, so come with your smart hat on, and we'll include prizes for the winners. On a sad note, within the last few days, we've lost 2 very valued employees. Last week, Alfred Forney, a bus driver, passed away at home. He's been with us since 2012. His wife, Tanya, also drives the bus for us. And over the weekend, Cynthia Stewart, a teacher at Emmeline Carpenter Elementary School, passed away. We will truly miss these folks for their professional and personal relationships, and the treasured co-workers as well, who will miss them. So please join us in passing along condolences to their family and friends. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fraley, and certainly we want to keep part of our students and keep those families in mind. We will now hear public comments. Individuals wishing to speak must complete the form located on the table by the entrance or door and turn it in prior to the meeting. Comments will be kept to a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of 5 or more individuals have the same concerns. You have a single spokesperson for the group. This open forum is not the time or place to make complaints about a district employee. The board specifically complaint policies and procedures for presenting those concerns. The board cannot respond to the comments in this open forum, but we can inform you of district policies and procedures. The total time allotted for this portion of the meeting is 30 minutes. Mr. Michael Morton will keep time for us, and I will call to the speaker's attention should their time limit expire. We will now hear Ms. Jackie Chandler. Jackie Chandler.
Good evening. A few weeks ago, I heard something that really surprised me, a few things that really surprised me. First off, the school board is once again considering becoming a designated district of innovation for NISD before deciding alongside the community how to spend the recently passed bond funds. Before deciding who the new superintendent will be, we will first decide how to best remove the rights of our teachers and those of our students. I am disappointed that we are back to square one on this subject. Not a single person I have spoken to believe that the district will stop at extending the school year. Those that would try to conceal your true intent, you are not fooling anyone. Some of the members of this board were elected because of the people's opposition to becoming a DOI last year. The people of this community turned out in huge numbers to oppose becoming a DOI. It's as if the events of last spring have been completely forgotten. Do not consider allowing the administration to follow this course. Secondly, the newly proposed CTE building. It's been suggested that a facility intended to be rented out by local businesses is to be built on the grounds of our current high school. Rented out by local businesses? When did that become a thing? This facility, named inappropriately a new CTE building, is intended to generate revenue from local businesses who want a place to train their employees. I have many questions. The first of which is, who are these people that would be training on school grounds? Are they felons? Are they drug users? Are these people going to be a good influence in the areas surrounding our children that are students at these schools? Is it appropriate to have adults learning next door to our students? And also, how will students and faculty security be ensured? Now what the new CTE building was supposed to be is a facility for students in the district to learn skills that will help them develop careers that will change their lives. The current equipment, facilities, and other resources available for our true CTE department are subpar and in need of a significant improvement. Why are we not focusing on using our resources to improve facilities for our students? Lastly, why in the world did this school board buy a new administration building? I'm pretty sure I heard on multiple occasions, as did the majority of people I've spoken to recently, that only improvements to the existing administration building would be made. Before the ink was dry on the new bond, you bid on the old Burke Center, and then you bought it. Did I fall asleep? Is this a joke? When did the Community Action Board agree to spend funds on a new administration building? When was it discussed with the community? Which members of this board agreed to purchase a new administration building? Thank you for your time, and good luck ever passing another bond in this district again.
Mr. Neal, if I could respond to that last piece.
Yes, sir.
As a person who did over 40 speeches, in each speech I said we'd be looking at either renovations or purchasing a new building. Shake your head, no, I made the speeches. Were you in attendance is the question you asked yourself? You weren't there. But at any rate, we have made a decision to purchase a building consistent with what we said we would do.
Our next speaker is Shannon Morris.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Morrison, and I'm the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Agent for Nacogdoches County. Research shows that schools are uniquely positioned to have a positive impact on children's knowledge and behaviors associated with obesity. According to the CDC, the childhood obesity rate in Texas is 24% among 8 to 10-year-olds and 33% among 10 to 17-year-olds. This increasing rate of childhood obesity is a cause for concern. Due to the link in obesity and long-term health consequences such as diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. School gardening has been shown to improve consumption of fruit and vegetables and therefore improving children's health. Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go is a research-based curriculum developed by Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, which provides 10 lessons that emphasize gardening, nutrition, physical activity, while incorporating TEKS in science, math, language arts, reading, writing, social studies, and health. Local county extension agents like myself partner with schools and after-school programs to implement this curriculum for youth in 3rd through 5th grade who attend a Title I school. In Nacogdoches ISD schools, there are 5 total established school gardens: Fredonia Elementary, Carpenter Elementary, TJR, Nettie Marshall, and BQJ. These garden programs are implemented by volunteers with support from the county extension agent, myself, who coordinates grant funding through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and the USDA. Each volunteer signs a commitment letter of at least 40 hours each year, and in 2017 to 2018, a total of 1,524 volunteer hours were documented. The partnership with Nacogdoches AgriLife Extension and its garden volunteers is very strong. It is with hope that the partnership and support with each local school district continues to grow with awareness of this beneficial gardening program. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Just thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Jocelyn Moore.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Moore. I'm a mother of 2 young boys and an educator of environmental science and gardening for youth at SFA Gardens. Today, though, I'm actually here as a school garden volunteer and an SFA student. I wanted to reach out to you all and make sure that our district leadership is aware of the wonderful school gardening programs budding up in the NAC ISD district, many of which are run by passionate volunteers and teachers. I'd like to start by sharing a little bit of history on the school gardening here in Nacogdoches. Back in 2011, Dr. Cheryl Boyette, Dr. Alan Sowards, and Elise Rodewald partnered with the Healthy Nacogdoches Coalition and received grant funding to put in garden beds and offer teacher trainings. This project was designed as a 3-year program that would gradually phase out external support from SFA and educator consultants. During the first 2 years During the first 2 years of support, these coordinated garden programs were a huge success amongst teachers and students alike. Unfortunately, due to teacher turnover and a lack of coordination, these programs eroded by the end of 2013. So let's zoom forward ahead to spring of 2016. Volunteers Jim and Carrie Lemon and the Austin Heights Earth Care Ministry revitalized the beds at TJR Elementary and started a gardening program with principal support during student elective time. A team of 8 volunteers currently teach 2 classes of students every Thursday morning, and their garden is beautiful. Soon after, carpenter science teacher Mike Moore revitalized garden beds with SFA student volunteers and implemented various gardening programs with his students. Now, as a program coordinator at the Nacogdoches Library, he continues to support the school garden program there with outdoor literacy for 5th graders. And a shout out to Dr. Goldman for helping out with that site as well. Soon, Fredonia and Eddie Marshall, BQJ, Head Start, and the high school all caught the garden bug and started programs of their own. Currently, there's great momentum and support for our schools here with the recent bond passing. We also have so many community assets here in the garden capital of Texas that help make school gardening possible. As a student, I have devoted many of my class projects and internships towards supporting school gardening. With other garden believers, we have sewn together a network, the NAC Gardens Network, consisting of collaborative efforts among SFA students and SFA Gardens, the A&M AgriLife Extension Office, the Nacogdoches Public Library, community groups and garden clubs, and the nearly dozen sites of school and community gardens. Moving forward, we want to ensure that we're working together with our district leadership to impact as many students as we can, and also to plan ahead for longevity for these innovative programs. Reflecting on our own Nacogdoches ISD school garden history, and along with the countless success stories around the country, it is my strong affirmation that our school district will blossom with the addition of school garden coordinators to make these programs sustainable. So much research demonstrates the learning benefits of hands-on experiential learning, the brain boosts from movement and time spent outside, and the improved behaviors and learning outcomes of healthy eating. All this and more is nurtured in the school garden. No doubt our student test scores will reflect these benefits. And I wish I could go on. I know my time is up, but I'll just end with saying my favorite quote from Carpenter Elementary School garden kiddo was, "I wish garden club was every day." And thank you so much for your time and service for our school district.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Any questions? Thanks.
Mr. Moore, Michael?
Good evening. Am I good? Should I squat down? All right, cool. All right, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Moore. I'm a husband, father of 2 boys. They're hanging out over here. Former elementary teacher at Carpenter Elementary, and I left in July to become the program coordinator at the Nacogdoches Public Library. Tonight, I'm here as a community member and someone that's excited about outdoor education and specifically school garden. I call it outdoor literacy. Tonight, I'm also a member of several groups working to find solutions and recognize the strengths of the community. One of those groups is NAC Gardens. It's a network of individuals that aims to bridge education and real-world experiences together, mainly through gardening. I want to share with you some of the experiences that I have as an educator, and then also with the individuals that make NISD a really special place to be. As a teacher, I provided my students with an authentic education. I did this because I understood the emotional bond between academia and what they felt about it was super important for not only them to grow, but their retention of the TEKS that we were teaching. If they could grasp that in an experience, then they had something to latch on to. In my years at Carpenter Elementary, I developed a school garden after the SFA one phased out. I worked hard to balance the curriculum with outdoor learning to further the emotional connections that I was teaching in class. Oftentimes, the TEKS and the YAG did not coincide to the seasons and the needs of the garden, unfortunately. I concluded that the best way that I could reach the students was to lead an after-school program club with volunteers. This worked out well, though I knew it would be more beneficial if I could incorporate all of the students in my classes and closely align the garden's agenda with the TEKS that the students were currently learning to master. Over my years of teaching and gardening and working with other educators, we began to develop and align a curriculum that matched the NAC ISD curriculum, or the YAG. I would love to have the opportunity to share these ideas and incorporate outdoor literacy with any who are interested. It'd be too long to do it tonight. I still do outdoor literacy at Carpenter every week. Sometimes it's Friday, sometimes it's Tuesdays. I work with 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, and I just recently started to incorporate kindergartners into that method as well, thanks to teachers coming out and being interested in it. I unfortunately do not believe that this is a sustainable program without the support and the commitment of NAC ISD through innovative roles. Gardening provides an interactive approach between academics to build healthy minds and the community. In the garden, I've seen quiet students become chatty, brave students show fear, and peers outside of their friend groups ease those fears, ease those worries. Along with these and other social, emotional gains, there is recognition and retention of the teaks when they witness decomposition of the plants, the cycle from seed to fruit to seed, with making a fresh meal in between that. That creates that bond of emotional connection to their academia. I have a lot more to say, but I understand that that's going off. I just want to close with that the gardens at our campuses are more than connecting and growing the social, emotional, academic lives of our students. They are a place that connects the social, emotional, academic lives of our community. Without a lot of the community members that Ms. Moore talked about, and also Ms. Shannon talked about, these experiences for our students and our community would not happen. And it's just, yeah, all right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Moore.
guys. Any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Neal, if I could, I
Yes,
just want to thank you guys for all that you do. When Mr. Lineberger brought this to my attention, I was really appreciative of it. I had to look forward to working with you guys and learning more about what you guys are doing. I grew up on a farm, and I was not a farmer. I grew up on the farm. But I do appreciate what you're talking about in terms of the social emotional connection and just the fact that these kids find themselves doing something that they can be successful at. And that definitely attributes to other learning enhancements. So we really appreciate you guys for what you guys are doing. Thank you.
And to add to that, Mr. Fraley, I was at M-Line Carpenter School and working with a couple of boys, and on that side there, they shared with me that part in their role and working in the garden several years ago. And so it's important. I just wish my garden at home looked like that. Thank you all. Thank you. Unless removed from the consent agenda, all items listed will be acted on with one motion. If there is a board member who wishes to discuss an item on the consent agenda separately, please indicate the agenda letter, and it'll be set aside for further discussion and separate vote. I call now for motion approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Neal, I so move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second approval of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, will you raise your right hand and sign of aye?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. The consent agenda is approved. Now we will proceed with discussion and action agenda. All the items listed will be discussed and acted on separately. A, consideration of best value determination and on method of construction services and delegation of authority under Government Code, Chapter 2269, for the following 2018 bond projections. We're going to now turn it over to Mr. Fraley.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. We discussed this Monday at the agenda review, and this is just a delivery method that we're proposing that we do a structure manager at risk, which allows us to have a lot more control over the pricing and the design of the building and all options that we would like to be considered. So the proposal is to go with a construction manager at risk delivery method for all of our projects as listed.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Fraley.
Vice President,
Yes,
I
sir.
move that the board approve the construction manager at risk construction delivery method as described by the Texas Government Code 2269 as preferred best value delivery method for the following 2018 bond projects. New press box at Dragon Stadium, Nacogdoches High School. New Emmeline Carpenter Elementary School. Addition and renovation at McMichael Middle School, Malcolm Rector CTE, and Nacogdoches High School CTE renovation. I further move that the board delegate to the superintendent or his designee the necessary authority under Government Code 2269 to prepare requests for proposal and accept proposals from general contractors, to select criteria and weighted values to evaluate proposals of general contractors, to select the committee to consider and evaluate proposals, and the necessary authority under Government 2269 to make a recommendation for the final consideration by the board to select general contractor or contractors as construction manager at risk for the above stated 2018 bond projects.
Thank you, Mr. Farshid. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion second. Any further discussion?
If I could just add again, we will do an RFQ to solicit responses from qualified contractors, and we'll bring a recommendation back to the board for board approval.
Board, we have a motion second. All in favor, and we just, right hand, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. First reading of TASB Policy Update 112. Mr. Morton, we'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Vice President Neal, board members, Interim Superintendent Fraley. As discussed at our Monday agenda review meeting, I'm here to present TASB Policy Update 112, which includes both local and legal policies. Administration is asking the board to consider approving local board policies. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. And this is the first reading, board, so.
Mr. Vice President, I move the board to approve the first reading of revisions to local policies as contained in TASB Policy Manual updated 112, including revisions beyond the updated to local policy CV.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a motion second approval of the first reading of TASB Policy Update 112. Any further discussion? All in favor of sign of aye, raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Morton. We move now to discussion items only. We now come to discussion item segment of this meeting. No action will be taken on the items discussed today. Consideration of district innovation. And Dr. Hill, will you come and?
Actually, Mr. Neal, we have a process now where we bring things that are elicit a lot of concern, conversation about before the board several times before we actually take any kind of action. So tonight, this is just to give you a chance to give us feedback. I know you all received a lot of feedback from some of the community, and you forwarded some of that to me. And so I want to know if there's anything you have heard at this point that warrants us just totally abandoning this, or we should continue to talk about it. I've reached out to at least one of the teacher organizations. I've asked them to survey their staff and get back with me by the end of the month of where the teachers are. We look at the things that we receive from the community, and there's a lot of concern, a lot of misinformation, but there's also a lot of concern that I find warranted because what's happening in other parts of the state. However, what happened in another part of the state that may not happen in Nacogdoches, the process certainly requires openness and many opportunities for feedback. And so it's not a matter of me or the law. It's do you trust the board and the community to participate in a very, very constructive manner to discuss this item and see if there's something that we want to look at. All we have talked about, and that's all I see, is looking at a calendar modification. I've directed staff that if there's no support for this, we still have school. It's not an issue for us. This is just looking at us at our surrounding districts, and in terms of staffing and timelines, we're somewhat at a disadvantage. The request at this point is only just look at that. If a future committee of staff wants something else, that's up to that committee. It is not the superintendent or the board. The committee that's required to be in place by state makes a determination. Then you have a 30-day open process where it's posted. You must have it on your website. You must have, I think, even public hearings, and then you have a public resolution. So there are lots of steps that you would have to go through to do anything at all. But tonight, just want to know that, because we have a lot of work to do. If this is something that you know you don't want to get into any further, tell us now, and we're done with it. And no hard feelings at all. There's plenty to do. But I just want to give you all a chance to think through it and discuss publicly with the staff, with myself, if there's anything you want to recommend in terms of continue to look into it further, or just stop it right now. I'm happy either way. So if you heard anything that tells you we should just stop right now, we'll do that. If you haven't heard anything that makes you want to just stop right now, then we'll take another step. But it's still transparent along the way. Lots of chance for input. We'll have a district committee with staff on it, teachers on it, to determine what we do and where we go with this.
Mr. Fraley, I know a year ago, I was one of the ones that was a little concerned and skeptical about the designation, and I still hold on to some of that, but I've learned a lot more in the last year, and I've also talked with other teachers in our district that were also skeptical, as well as some leadership in our district. And I've talked to other people from other schools that have done this very successfully. I think that I would really like to hear more. I'd like to find out formally what our teachers really want. I mean, I've heard from a couple that was a negative, but then I've heard quite a bit of positive. So, from the people that were negative last year. So I think it's worthy of maybe filling out and just seeing if we get a committee, if we can do the survey. I think it's very valid to check it out. But I do know where everybody was coming from a year ago. I do know where some of the concerns are today. So I respect that. But I think we have to find out for sure, because I think owning our calendar is important. I don't think that we're cookie cutter districts. I think we all are different. Just because we do it this way here, we're not just like Lufkin. So praise the Lord. And so I am a dragon, just so that we're all clear. I don't want to be just like everybody else. And so I do think that owning our calendar is important. And so if it stops there, I'm kind of okay with that. But I just want to be sure that the people that we represent are comfortable with that. So that's kind of where I sit today.
Thank you.
Mr. Fraley, when this issue came up last year, I did a lot of homework, and I realized that it's not some decision we make. You have to go through a lot of process. As far as I understood, a committee should be made out of teachers, parents, community members, administration personnel. They should be formed and find a solution that best benefit our students' learning. And I know, of course, we have to teach 75,700 minutes of instruction per year and 420 minutes per day. All of this understood. But at the same time, I realized by educating myself that not all districts have the same issues. According to their location, resources, facilities, the wealth of that school, and highly qualified teacher they have access or not. However, my concern would be the same concern that most schools had or most people have, which is date of starting school, class size ratio, minimum minutes of instruction, students' discipline management, teacher's contract, teacher certification, teacher's salary and benefit, and decision-making process, and Texas teacher's evaluation system. I have the same concern that most people do, but at the same time, I understood if you go through making a School of Innovation, you could choose any items that you want. It does not mean all of these included. You isolate one situation that you want to be in. And as I understood, the district wants to just concern about starting the school year, nothing else. At the same time, I understand if there is any more situation that we want to get into, we have to go through exactly the same process, which means people have to be involved to making that decision. So there is a lot of misunderstanding going on that sometimes the word travels, as it travels, become mispresented. And I am exactly like Ms. Lynn said, that I had some misunderstanding. I clarified that to myself. And at the same time, there are some concern that public, teachers, and administrators had to look into. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
And Mr. Fraley, I also think that I had a misconception about that a year ago, and I've done the same thing. I've looked at these things, but I think the most important thing is that we have to have the input from the community, from teachers. And that, to me, is, going to give us a guiding light of where we need to go with this. So I just want the community to understand that it's not something we're deciding to do, that we need their feedback and their approval to be able to do this also.
Mr. President, if I can, the irony is we have people screaming about giving teachers input, and this process demands it. If you stop it, you're not giving teachers input. You can only get input by going forward with allowing it to continue.
Thank you. Dr. Rowe?
I think it's important that we understand that part of our responsibility is to every student in this district, every parent, every teacher, every administrator, and every member of this community. If we shut the door as a board to a district of innovation, no one else gets a voice in that. What we want to do is open the door to community discussion and let the community decide what they want. And we're the last persons. Even if you say, let's do it, we still have to evaluate the bottom line. Is it best for everybody? So we're not trying to ramrod anything. We're trying to open the door to let you discuss it, let the teachers discuss it, and let's always look at the overall effect when they come stealing our teachers because they're not technically under contract at other school districts because we start later, then we start school with less qualified teachers. This protects us from having our teachers stolen and then replacing them with less qualified educators. So, do I know everything about this? No, but I know it's very restrictive, and I know that we can kill it with one vote. The board can kill it at any time, and we can do it for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, but it can't go longer than 5 years. Okay, so I've just about emptied my brain over District of Innovation, okay? But there are a lot of districts, big and small, who do this to their advantage, and that's what we're looking for. What's the advantage? What's in it for us? And we want it for us as a community. Thank you.
Mr. President, just one last thing, and again, in my meeting with the teacher organization, stated that if they just presented to me that the teachers truly are having a meltdown and a lot of heartburn about this, and they just really don't want it, then I will come to you and say, let's end this right now. Absolutely. But I do want their input. I do want them to participate in a sensible, intelligent conversation about it.
Thank you. Pastor?
I agree with my colleagues. I think it's worth of exploring, allowing the feedback from the teachers and community.
Yes.
So I'm into it.
And now too, the benefits for the students. I know it's the calendar we're looking at.
That's it.
And I think about personnel, when I think about hiring the best qualified, highly qualified staff we can. So I think there's an opportunity. So if I'm correct, board, is it consensus that we ask the administration to continue pursuing the information and working forward?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, then we'll do it. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. We have one more motion.
Before
Reverend Aaron makes it always.
we do that, could I just publicly congratulate Mr. Matoya's wife for a new position and professorship at SFA? Congratulations to you and your wife. I'll let her know.
Fantastic. Reverend Everett, you want to give us a motion?
I move we be adjourned.
Wait a second. We're adjourned.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.